Hey everyone, I'm Tim. Today we'll be learning about number patterns. The ideas I have for learning number patterns are only suggestions, so if you prefer another way of learning that makes more sense to you, do it that way. Everyone learns differently, so don't feel bad if my way is confusing to you. Let's start by looking at a number pattern and solving the gaps in the sequence. If the numbers are increasing or decreasing by the same amount each time in the sequence, you can figure out the difference between each gap by subtracting one number in the sequence from the number next to it. In this example, you could subtract 4 from 11 or 25 from 32 to find out that the difference between each gap in the sequence is 7. From here, you could add 7 onto 11 or subtract it from 25 to see the number in the sequence that it should be. If the number is decreasing each time in the sequence, this number should be negative. If there are no single gaps in a sequence, only double gaps, you can find out the difference between each gap in a sequence with the same technique. In the same example, you could subtract 11 from 25 to find the difference between two gaps as 14. Because there are two gaps, you can divide this number, 14, by 2 to find the difference between each gap in the sequence, which again in this case is 7. Okay, time for a joke. Why was the lettuce embarrassed when he opened the door? Because he saw the salad dressing. Okay, here's another joke. Why are pirates pirates? Because they are. Sometimes it can be easier to follow a written rule to recreate a sequence. Written rules are simple ways of explaining the pattern so you can recreate the sequence by following the rule. For example, the written rule multiply by 3 plus 4 would mean that you have to multiply the number in the sequence by 3 and then add 4 to recreate the pattern. Remember always to multiply before you add on the end, or you will probably get the wrong number. So, if the written rule, multiply by 3 plus 4, was to be carried out for 5 sequences, this is what it would look like. The number at the start of the sequence is always the number at the end of the written rule. In this case, it is plus 4. This is the case as even if the other number is multiplied by 0, you will still end up with plus 4 at the end, as 3 times 0 plus 4 equals 4. If you wanted to find out what the number would be on the 6th number in the sequence, all you would do is apply the written rule to the number 6. So 6 times 3 plus 4. 6 times 3 equals 18 plus 4 equals 22. So you would put 22 in the sequence at the 6th spot. To write a written rule, start by finding the difference between each gap in the sequence, as this is the number you will need to multiply to get the numbers increasing or decreasing the same amount each time. Then put the number at the start of the sequence at the end of the written rule, as this is the number you will have even if you multiply the sequence number by 0. In the previous example, you can see how it was created, as the numbers are increasing in 3 to be multiplied with 4 at the beginning of the sequence. The same technique can be used when numbers are decreasing each time in a sequence, as seen here. As you can see, the numbers are decreasing each time by 4. That would mean that the number you multiply in the sequence is -4. You can also see that the first number in the sequence is 32. Have a think about what the written rule might be, and we'll compare shortly. My answer is multiply by -4 plus 32. If you do that for each number in the sequence, you should recreate the pattern the same. Just remember, there's more than one way of doing things, or as the old saying goes, there's more than one way to shear a sheep. I just made that up. Here's another joke. What's invisible and smells like carrots? Rabbit farts. Now that you know what written rules look like, it can be useful to recognize an even shorter version as well. For the written rule, multiply by 7 plus 4, you can shorten this to 7x plus 4. You still use the first number in the sequence to add on the end, and multiply the difference between each number in the sequence. Let's practice with some of the earlier examples. So for the written rule, multiply by -4 plus 32, that would look like this. -4x plus 32. Or for the last example, multiply by 3 plus 4. This would look like 3x plus 4. So it's very similar. Here's another example for us to try together. If Mary went and bought a PlayStation for $800 and was paying it back at $40 a week, write a sequence for the first 5 numbers. Then, try writing a written rule to explain how to create the pattern, and a shortened version of that written rule. I'll tell you what I got. If she had to pay $800 anyway, that would be what you plus on at the end of the written rule. And because it's decreasing by 40 each time, you would multiply the number in the sequence by -40 each time. That way, the written rule would be multiply by -40 plus 800. Or the shortened version, -40x plus 800. Well, I hope you guys learned something new, but even if you didn't, the next part will be a great opportunity to speak to your classmates and friends, have a good discussion, and get help with parts that you had trouble with. Even if you know how to do a technique, if you teach someone else, it will really help you remember it better for next time. So just work as a group and help each other out. If you're not sure what to do at any time during the discussion group, have a go at some of the practice questions I've set you, and talk to your friends about it. Well, thanks heaps for participating, guys. I'll see you soon.